friends, this guy here is Rocky Outcrop. Those charts there, they're Link versus the Bitcoin. And we're going to be taking a look at Link versus the Bitcoin and Link versus the dollar coin in this episode. It's been those blue sky thinkings and nice, lovely times for Link, having climbed up above the big old parallel channel we drew on the weekly time frame, gone up above all of our all-time highs and all that sort of stuff. And then we've had a bit of a retracement off of that. And then, of course, today overall is a positive day. Let's take a look at how that's all panned out. Now, I would like to go back into previous episodes, like the last couple episodes, and point towards certain things that we spoke about and say, wow, you know, that was great. Everybody benefited so much from that. I'm so glad I did that and everything else. But I know that all of you are subscribed feel that way about these things anyway, and yet you've got so much value out of it. So if you find yourself watching this video and you've watched the previous ones, you've not hit the subscribe button, or indeed you're just watching here for the first time, welcome to the family and hit that subscribe button, because I really do try to give actual takeaway value for people on a daily basis, consistent technical analysis, FOMO-free, greed-free, all that good stuff. Now, what was the phantasmic stuff we were talking about? It was just to kind of point out that during this upward blue sky thinking time when you're all looking for, like, how do we do it though, Rocky? How do we do it? There's nothing. I can't look to previous support and resistance levels, so there's nothing left. How do I do it? How do I do it? I was pointing out various ways, numerous ways over the last wee while with Chainlink at how you could look at things during an all-time highs, blue skies market is. And one of the things that I spoke about was how it was the Bollinger Bands. And it's quite simple, really. And the Bollinger Bands are misused wrongly by almost everybody. I did a video recently explaining how to actually use the Bollinger Bands. You can look at that on the channel page, go to the education playlist, and it'll tell you all about it. Some person commented down below how they'd looked at the Bollinger Bands, seen other people talking about them or whatever, read it them, something, researched them, decided that they were useless, and having watched the video, they think they might give them another shot. Well, that's just it, really. If you go and look at all the textbook stuff about them, it's all kind of wrong. Excuse me if John Bellinger himself comes in here one day and says that I'm wrong. In my opinion, it's wrong. And in my opinion, that's not how you use them. And in my opinion, there's a better way of using them. And in my opinion, I explained that all recently. And we saw the outcome from that as well when the prices dropped back down to that 75,000 area, coming back in from having been all the way up there at the 90,000s yesterday, and then coming back down to retest this bully wally line here. And if you're looking on the next sort of level, then that we're still tracing it towards the upside. And we want to see this continue on the bigger grand scheme of things picture. And that's nice to see in the 24-hour time frame. What we do have to be aware of here is a touch of the old bearish divergence between these two highs here on the stochastics and the RSI. Funnily enough, it didn't pan out that way on the DMI, and this has come all the way up to 52. If you want to look back in time at this thing, you know, it doesn't often come up here, and when it does, it turns around, generally speaking. But then, of course, we know that neither of these times were in the period of all-time highs. And at the same time, we can also look at how stretched out the market's really become by looking here and seeing the ADX here all the way up in these highs, having achieved it in a sense organically. Because the way this is calculated is by looking at the relative difference between these two lines, the positive and the negative. So this period of frazzle jazzle here and this frazzle jazzle down here led to this ascending ADX, you know, and then whenever they converged again afterwards, I saw this sort of really sharply descending ADX line there. So you can see then the same sort of thing happened here to an extent, but less so, where we have the DM positive line higher, and then a less extended period thereafter before we turned around towards the downside. Then again, as well, you can see this here where we had the three peaks on the ADX where they were all below the big upshoots in the price action there. And if we just take a look here at 20th of May, 12th of June and 30th of June, just in terms of how the price action looked on those days, we see these peaks here, peak on the way up there at that time. Then if you want to look to other examples of the sort of the shape of this thing overall, you can see here we had this upward move, which is, you know, we kind of covered that style of one already. You can see here that we had this move here where we're extending beyond it in terms of ADX with the frazzle jazzle down below, enough to take us up towards this area. But we did a frazzle jazzle, which resulted in three sort of periods here where we had this you could look to as being sort of head and shoulders-esque. Let's take a look at how the price action responded in around that area. So you had the frazzle jazzle, and then the frazzle jazzle, and it didn't actually do a sort of head and shoulder. It didn't actually have a downwards move there, but so there anyway. There you go. I suppose that was kind of a redundant point, but well, not going to edit out of the video. so that was worth looking to, I suppose. Whatever. But I just really wanted to build up to the point of saying that look how we've got this parabolic almost move up towards the top side. When I say parabolic almost, I mean it's parabolic move towards the top side there. And as you can see, this has stretched these two aspects away from each other, and that the price action's coming in here and kind of hugging around it. So while on the one stage, and you would say that we've not seen the price action result in an a DMI that looks like this really ever in its history, and that this is also quite high. Yeah, sorry, that this is quite high, and you could have thought of things about turnarounds in the price action, when we've had these big highs in before, as we can see. Well, this isn't head and shoulders. You've got the aspects of sort of peak, on the go there at that time. There's a different question to be asked about this with regards to this one, given the way that this positive is snaked up the way around about the ADX, as this has gone towards the downside in a really, really stretched out move because of this parabolic move towards the upside. So, that's interesting. I think you should keep an eye out for that, about how, these things respond, and if we start moving away from the ADX or not, hence the price would then kind of maybe be consolidating, or there'd be a lesser range between the highs and the lows, and so, i.e. frazzle jazzle, and then you might get a bit of movements sideways. We might be able to see something slightly different on the go. But at the minute, all we're really looking to is things like, will we stay above the 236 here at 70,000? Will we retrace in and around the lines of where the standard, the number two deviation away is on the Bollinger here, which is standard deviation 2. If we put it up to 3, that's kind of like useless, I find. If we put it down to 1, that's kind of useless, I find. Instead, I look to here and look at it tracing along the line itself. That makes so much more sense to me. It's how you would actually use these things. And that's what I'll be continuing to look to over the next wee while. What do we have on the go in terms of divergence? Like I said, well, a little bit of the old bearish stuff. We had a big retrace in the price here. This is quite a negative candle overall in terms of the way this worked. But of course, it's resulted in a sort of bullish engulfing type aspect to today's candle. And maybe we'll see some upward price action, follow through from this one. Maybe it depends. A lot of this rise up here has been a lack of liquidity. If I were to just put on the, can't be bothered, put on the VPVR here, you would see that there's nothing up here because of all-time highs. It's just a moot point again. But the point is that what I'm actually getting at is the fact that this is a liquidity rise, that there's a lot less supply and demand essentially, and at some point the elasticity of this thing will get a consideration where we'll have to consider it, where we try and see how the market responds to the new scenario that we find ourselves in, and that's what I'm looking to. Overall, the volume has increased as we've gone up here slightly above these areas, but again, you can see the relationship between the lack of overall buyers and sellers compared to previous times in the market during this upward move, and all of that's kind of interesting. So there's a degree of risk there involved in all of that, of course there is, right? And the same thing applies over here, right? So the same thing applies. So I don't need to go on in great detail about it, and really I suppose there was a sort of the R smoke blowing effort here. If you want to do any of that, join the Discord, by the way. I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe as well. The art smoke blowing type scenario or chat, where I'm trying to say that I just wanted to point out how handy this has been for trading recently. And you can see here, looking at the dollar prices, that we've come all the way up to the top there and down to this is where we drew this in speculatively, and we said this could be where we might find support there at 688.95 or so, and that's what we have actually seen there. And then today's price action, we've come back up above where we have the 1618s here at 735. We're at 745 at the minute, and we've seen that happening in and around this aspect of the top end of the second standard deviation from the 20 simple moving average, which is all the Bollinger Band is. Right. There's the move up from the parallel channel. Various other things happened as well that we could talk about if we wanted to, like the where's my measuring stick gone? Whatever, had a measuring stick at one point. Various things, whatever. That's all good. Actually, I'm just going to leave off for there for today. Let me know what you're thinking. Join the Chainlink, join the discussion on Chainlink over there in the Discord. Let me know how you've been getting on with this thing, and yeah, let me know what you're thinking in terms of blue sky stuff and whatever else. I don't watch anybody else's technical analysis on the old YouTube, so I don't, and I don't. Well, clearly don't need to rely on any of that or whatever else. And I really want to kind of, if there was one thing that I wanted to give people um, is the lesson to rely on yourself and become self-reliant traders. So if you are going to share an idea with me, share me your idea, because I'm really interested in hearing what you think yourself. Or if you're going to share with me somebody else's idea, then link the video in the Discord to the other YouTubers thing, and you can talk about it there instead. But I'm really interested in what your own individual ideas would be about all of this in the market at the minute, given how things have been going along with this one. And really interesting discussions as well happening in in Tezos and Blink chain and stuff like that in the Discord from time to time, with people talking about indicators and whatever else. Just point out this is a bit bearishly divergent at the highs here, and we have to see how this will go. But of course, we came overbought before, and so we got rejected from that zone, you could say, on our first pass, which so often happens. Come up here, tested it again, but with bearish divergence, maybe you need to have a sort of think about things. But if not, if we do push up towards the top side, then maybe next time we'll see a bit of the old real genuine sort of overboughtness. We've only ever been up here a few times in history, so this is all kind of setting in new ground when it comes to this particular asset. Yeah, great. Anyway, good stuff. Been good. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. If you hit that like and subscribe button, really massively appreciate it. Let's move on then to Tezos. So thanks so much. Catch you next time.